crazy when you think how difficult it really is to overturn a conviction anyway. But you have to be a huge group of people to be heard, and that's a travesty. It's an absolute travesty, and it's.
Well, when you see how many there are of you, and how long it's taken you, despite all that, the huge number of you.
And the evidence, Jane, that's the other thing. You know, the huge part of all of this is evidence-based. These are not just people, we're a big group and therefore, you know, we should be heard. We're talking about huge amounts of paperwork, 2.5 million documents in the inquiry. And for Robin, that all stems to him as well. That was the same system used at the same time.
Exactly the same.
He's got a right to look at that and look underneath that and look behind that. He has a right to be heard, even though he's just one person fighting. It should never be about one injustice. You know, is equally as abhorrent as 555. Equally.
Yeah, but look at Andrew Malkinson. He was just one case, and look how long it took his case.
It's disgusting. It really is. I mean, you can be tried and incarcerated in 3 months in this country and then wait 25 years to overturn that.
Yeah, but that's like, man, I was sent to prison and my case began, and so say the 1st of June 2006, and by February 2007, I was in prison. My conviction wasn't actually overturned until 2021.
It's crazy. It's absolutely abhorrent. It really is. Justice delayed is justice denied.
Yeah, even to get the justice, you need a huge amount of money in this country to show you are innocent.
That's it, yeah. Like our CCRC application went in 2015, and as Lee mentioned, like then the CCRC already behind the GLO, like they're watching. Even when GLO went in 2019, the conviction came up in 2021.
Yeah, even the police are waiting for the outcome of an inquiry, as if the inquiry can.
You have to do an inquiry.
Yeah, and yet a police investigation should carry far more weight than any inquiry.
Well, the police were actually part of the inquiry. They were co-participants.
They were listening.
The evidence that's being pushed through is already there for them to see. But the problem you have with the post office, as you were saying, Jen, about evidence, is they pick and choose what evidence they supply. And that's where the problems lie, is because they're able to make a choice of what you see and what you don't see. I mean, they're saying to you that they can only go back by 2009, but yet last year they submitted a document to me that was apparently signed in 2004.
Yeah. Well, they said that the paperwork didn't go back beyond 2008. Of course, after trial, it was found out they did exist. Of course, they existed. Went back right to the very beginning, the first day. And if they'd been available and used, they demonstrate that there was no evidence of any theft.
All you've got to do is look at the inquiry and the way that documentation has been submitted to the inquiry. They've lost all this information, but then all of a sudden, a witness would have to be halted because of disclosure, because they've disclosed all this information. And they've done that so many times during the inquiry, where they've had to stop a witness coming on the stand, giving their evidence because of problems with disclosure. There was disclosing like thousands and thousands of pieces of evidence for cases that was being aired the following day. Yeah. So we all know how they are with disclosure.
In disclosure as well, one thing that's got to be remembered is as soon as they never disclose the Clark advice, as soon as they never disclose the fact that they'd sought help from their insurers or notified their insurers that they had an issue, as soon as all those things happened and as soon as they found that evidence from Gareth Jenkins was given in court in Seema's case that was found to be false, as soon as those things came to light, Robin Garbutt should have had his case looked at CCRC in order for them to decide whether that had an effect on the outcome of his case, which clearly, to have just two things, parts of evidence, one being the medical and one being the books, then fundamentally what you put in front of a jury, what is heard by a jury, must then be cleared and changed because it wasn't true.
You know, bearing in mind,
Yeah, well, the Clark advice was 2013, wasn't it?
Yeah,
So, I mean,
of course.
even the Swift review, that's the same, that's around about the same
Yeah, it
time.
is, yeah.
And I mean, what you think about it,
What's
it's
the
2
Clark
years.
advice, Janet? What's the
The
Clark?
Clark advice, basically what it is, a lawyer called Simon Clark had been asked to review the cases within the post office, because obviously we was making a lot of noise at that time with Second Sight. So a lot of us was being involved with Second Sight. And this case was reviewed by Simon Clark, and he basically discredited information, discredited witness statements, and basically said that the post office were lying. And that became our smoking gun, as you can call it, during our Court of Appeal in 2020, which me, Seema and Tracy, because it was found by Nick Gold and Paul Marshall and Flora Page.
Gotcha, thank you. Dr. Michael, I have a feeling that this case with Robin, it's like VOG, violence against women and girls, meets the Postmasters. They can do one or they can do the other. No way will they join the two of them and go, there might be something to see here. Do you reckon I'm talking rubbish?
When I'm listening to what you're all saying, I think what's wonderful is that you just refuse to accept the system the way it is. You're almost, you're demanding that the system should be the way that we've been brought up in this country to think the system actually is, even though you've all been going through the system, including Jane with Robin now for 15 years, and you have a profound understanding now that the system doesn't operate the way that we're brought up to think. When we watch television or we read newspapers or books, like you're saying, as soon as it's found out that there's something wrong happened, normally in the movies that we watch, the plays that we watch, even the soap operas that we watch, everything then is put right. And that's what we've been brought up to believe, all these TV detective shows. But it doesn't work like that. But yet, what's wonderful to me is that you're still demanding it should be like that. You're not jaded. You're not just accepting that it works different to how the public understand it. You're demanding that it gets it back in line with how it should be. And that's my stance too. Because to me, you're all victims of state power. You are victims of state crimes. Whether it's Robin Garbutt, whether it's Lee in a civil court, whether it's Janet and Seema in a criminal court, what our state is supposed to do. And Lee says things like, Robin has a right. Well, we're brought up to believe we have rights, but we often find out that those rights aren't real. They never materialize when we need to draw upon them. And I think that I wrote an article about 10 years ago in the British Journal of Criminology. And this is something that gets me that, if there was a scientist, right, a physician, a chemist, a biologist, and they had something published in an academic peer-reviewed journal, right, that would change the scientific view.
Yeah.
But when you get things published in the British Journal of Criminology and you expose that the way the justice system works is effectively a state crime, you're all victims of state crimes, nothing changes. It just gets ignored. Even though it's accepted by your peers as new knowledge, it's a new analysis, and it's supported by the evidence that you're putting forward. And in that article, I cited case after case after case after case of the police can just act in ways that we would be prosecuted for if we acted in those ways. But it's not a crime when they do that. The appeal courts, they can actually reject innocent appellants, that the CCRC can reject innocent applicants, and nothing happens to anybody.
No.
And so, Lee's right. The only chance we have is if we are in great numbers. And we're hoping that this video and your voices are going to strengthen that call for justice for yourselves, because you still haven't got justice, right? Whatever that's going to amount to, I don't know. But I don't think you'll ever get justice, no matter what happens in the future. There's going to be some sense of you're just going to have to try to live with it the best you can because you can't undo all the things that have happened to you in all of those years when you were just denied and you were just called liars and thieves and all the rest of it. And there's still going to be people out there, no matter what you say, will want to see you in that way. There's still people who are going to want to meet Davinder and just beat him up again because that's what people are like. They want to see the worst in people. Some years ago, there was a man called Ken Norman, and when he was talking about how these people react to wrongful convictions, he says, we live in a culture that has dirty thinking and lynch mob syndrome, where people want to see the worst in each other and then want to attack and hurt each other rather than support and be an ally with each other. So I think that, you know, your voices are elevated in this, and so is Robin Garbutt's. And the only chance Robin has, you know, with the fourth application to the CCRC is if there's a swell of voices that are demanding justice for Robin Garbutt. And as we should all be demanding justice for every victim of injustice. But we don't. As a rule, we don't. We don't know if we can trust them. We know we're innocent. We don't know if they're innocent. So we don't want to take a chance on it. And we've all been separated from each other. And we've all been divided from each other. You know? And you even see the press now being snide at, you know, some of those 960 postmasters and postmistresses, some of those people actually are thieves, trying to muddy the water, take the attention away from where the attention should actually be on the state, which is the post office is a state organization and it acts on their behalf, on the state's behalf, and it crushes innocent victims like you. And the way that you have been resilient and the way that you have refused to let it get on top of you. Because, you know, we all know some people who were affected by this committed suicide. They're not here anymore. And many more people probably felt like committing suicide along the way. Like, you know, Robbie might never say it to Jane because he daren't say certain things, but I'm sure he's contemplated it, right? In his
I'm sure, yeah. And his mum.
That's why, you know, empowering the innocent is trying to, you know, bring as many people together to kind of support as many people. And I've stopped searching for innocence in these cases. What I want to kind of shine a light on is that people ask the CCRC to do things to prove their innocence, and the CCRC refuses to do it. So it's actually, you know, it's not fulfilling its public function. It's there to try to put these wrongs right. But I think increasingly now, I think it's the wrong way around. The CCRC effectively allows the police to do what they want, the prosecution to do what they want, juries to be given partial evidence and to be making decisions about people's lives when they don't have all the facts, right? And then the Court of Appeal can reject innocent people. And I just say 25 years later, you know, the CCRC might do it, put it right in a tiny number of cases. It's all the wrong way around. Every single part of that process should be scrutinised and shouldn't be allowed to keep causing these wrongful convictions and innocent people's lives to be blighted in this way.
And they're like a huge machine that you can't contact. That's what it feels like. They're like, you know, that you can't. They're not personal. They don't want to meet you. They don't want to see you. You know, it's all such a strict rule. And no matter how much you plead to them and how much evidence you show to them, you know, I blind man on a galloping horse can see the innocent. The CCRC can't. They're the only ones who don't see it.
Jane knows. You know, Jane is you know, a very dear friend of mine, and I've known Jane now about 5 years. And you know, apart from being a Yorkshire lass, I think she's fantastic. Right?
Michael, Jane.
I'm joking. But what was I going to say? Oh, I forgot what I was going to say now.
I mean, for me, the only thing that can happen now is justice only comes with change. Everyone, if you don't have accountability for people withholding evidence, if you don't have accountability for people who aren't candid, especially from government-based, you know, institutions, if you don't have the opportunity to test all the evidence, whether it's positive or negative, and people withhold that, there has to be punishment. There has to be a holding to account of those people that choose not to be open and candid. And if that doesn't happen, we'll never see change, and then we'll never see justice.
I think why we're pushing the CCRC at the same time, because just think in this way, like CCRC have like so many cases to review, right? I can understand they might be lazy or just passing their time, getting the salary, they just doing the job. They don't have those emotional attachment there. But just take one example, in Seema Misra case, judge feel like, that there is no evidence against her, there is no witness against her. Forget about CCRC. The system gone corrupt right from the court. And after that, when the judge saying no evidence, no witness, no facts, nothing, it took years to Seema to become innocent. I think while we're pressurizing CCRC, I think we should come together and bring this bigger group and pressurize the parliament to update some bills. When any case comes to CCRC, it should be in public domain, when the people can add or extract something to help CCRC. You see, at the same time, CCRC feels some kind of pressure that they need to do job properly.
Yeah, true. Again, I'm setting a right example through as well. Like, like we always say, there's so many scams happening before post office. It was just not happening because we haven't, as a country, we haven't set a right example. As accountability has to be done. If we let post office get away with it, tomorrow will be different organization doing the same. It will happen. Detected behind the bars with the honey penalties. And then nobody, so many organizations are scared to commit any crime because they know there's a
Seema, do you know your mic? Is that a mic what you've got on your top here?
Yeah, is it making noise?
Yeah, no, it keeps cutting out quite bad.
Is it better?
Go on, put it a bit closer to you. I think it's your mic that's causing the problem, not yours, Dev. Yours is fine. It's yours, Seema.
It's a bit in, it's a bit out. Jane, I want to ask you as we start to round up, right? Why do you think that Robin is innocent? And I do think you think he's innocent, don't you?
100%. Yeah, I've got no doubts at all. Well, there's no evidence against him. There never was. It's the kind of man that you'd never, he wouldn't harm a fly, but that kind of the character thing doesn't seem to matter. There was 500 statements gathered at the time of the trial. Not one of them was saying anything other than lovely things about the guy. He's never had a parking ticket, but there actually is no evidence. And as Dr. Naughton said before, if you think he's guilty, where is the guilt? CCRC, if you don't think anything that we've given you matters, how did he do it? There's several DNA experts, one in America, but the gentleman at York University, Dr. Peter Ashton, looked at all the DNA and he said, Robin's nowhere. Robin's not on the crime scene. He's not on the murder weapon. He doesn't exist on any of it. But yet there is male DNA, several male DNA. I think 3, 4 of mixed DNA on the crime scene, and on certainly 2 on the murder weapon. He's nowhere to be seen on any of it. If he'd have been staying away that particular night, for example, they would have been locking somebody else up. That was another potential. There was other suspects. There was all sorts of, the prosecution tried to say there was no other witnesses, there was nobody saw anything, but there was all sorts of suspicious things in the village that morning, the night before. There was three known criminals who'd all served time in prison for hole in the wall offences, literally taking the break into the bank with a
like a smash and grab, isn't it?
Sorry.
It's like a smash and grab.
Smash and grab. There was 3 known criminals who'd all been in prison for that very offence in Melsonby on the morning of Dinah's murder.
What an incredible coincidence that is.
Yeah, isn't it? Yeah. But the police accepted the reasons why they were there. They were out pricing a job up, literally. Right. So there's.
I just want to say that one of the problems is that all victims of injustice should really just be seen as red herrings, because when you start speaking, you start to try to not only explain away that there's no evidence that actually links Robin to the murder of his wife, right? But then you also start to go into kind of this mode where you're trying to say who did commit the murder if he didn't.
Of course, yeah.
And there's also this other kind of misunderstanding that the Criminal Case Review Commission is not investigating cases to find out the truth. It's simply trying to determine whether or not, in the way they understand things, did you have a fair trial? And so they keep coming up with this answer that Robin did not have a fair trial. So you're trying to say to them, this is the truth of what happened, and they're not interested in what you're saying because they're not looking for the truth of what happened. They're just saying, did Robin have a fair trial or not? And he did have a fair trial as far as the system understands what a fair trial is. So this is why it all gets really, really murky, and it needs to be just kept really, really clear. The CCRC was not set up to assist innocent victims to overturn their wrongful convictions. It's there to keep all of these things covered up so the general public doesn't realise that there's many hundreds of people every single year who are being wrongly convicted for things they didn't do. And when you get the post office, and Lee said, all of the post office wrongful convictions, injustices, it's taken 25 years to get to where we are today.
Yeah.
And it's still not finished.
No.
So in that 25 years, the criminal justice system in England and Wales convicts in magistrates' courts and in the Crown Court 1.5 million plus, slightly plus, a year. So in that 25 years, there's like 40 million criminal convictions just in the criminal courts. And the idea that miscarriages of justice are rare, it indicates that, the system is perfect. In that 40 million convictions over the last 25 years, there are thousands of people who've been wrongly convicted. But the CCRC rejects 97, 98, and some years 99% of applicants, not because they're not innocent, because it wasn't set up to help innocent people. So we need to talk about that, because people say, oh, you keep on about the CCRC, Michael, but it's the Court of Appeal. The problem with that argument is it's the CCRC that's refusing to send things to the Court of Appeal, and that's what we need to have clear sight of. And that's why we need to actually expose the CCRC. And that's why we're trying to do it with the Robins cases. But all of the other parts of our legal system, whether it be civil courts, family court issues, criminal court things, all of those things need to be exposed. And we have to have a massive body of people prepared to do that. But it takes a lot out of people. And when people get justice or some justice or no justice, they often give up and they try to just get on with their lives the best they can. They're broken lives and often irreparable lives as best they can. And we need to support them and we need to encourage them to join with us and to try to help each other, because it is us against them. It was you against them, and they hold all the cards.
Yeah, well, basically, what you're saying is the CCRC isn't fit for purpose, and neither is the justice system. Apart from, I think all of it needs to be overhauled. It all needs to be re-established, and it just needs a new beginning. Because I think that
Janet, this is the best way to think about it. Like, we say it's not fit for purpose because we're saying it's not about truth and it's not about justice, and you can't have justice unless you've got truth. That's what we're saying, right?
Yeah.
It's fit for purpose in terms of what it was designed to be. It's a system of power to actually control us, right, and divide us. That's its purpose. That's what we need to all be aware of. It's not fit for the purpose that we have been brought up to think it's been set up for. And it's not fit for the purpose of actually delivering justice. It's about power and it's about control and it's about ruining people's lives.
The CCRC is not a court. It's not a judge and jury. All it should do is look at the paperwork that Jane's put in there with her team and decide whether there was a lack of information at the time, and if that impinged on the judgment that was brought about by the group of people that were put there to listen to all the evidence. And as soon as that is become fact, as soon as they know that that's the case, the judge is at the Court of Appeal. They should not be blocking that. It should be open to justice. Even if it takes a long period of time for it to be reheard, it's irrelevant. The fact is that the actual evidence at the time was not true.
Lee, you're making a fantastic case to be the next chair of the CCRC.
Yes, please.
I would vote for you, right? But the thing is, I think I just want to kind of go back to something I started to say, and then I got my senior moment. Why I was going to call my friend Jane out is that this kind of solidarity that we need as ordinary people, right? People who go to work and you know, try and just do our best in our lives. What I was going to say is, before we did this, Jane said, do you think I should tell the others that Sean is also an applicant at the CCRC? And Sean now has just today been given a new case review manager because he was rejected for the second time, right? And then a complaint was put in because they didn't understand what Sean was asking. So Sean and I got together and we tried to clarify that the case review manager who rejected the second application didn't understand, we think, plain English. So we made it even plainer. And so the complaint was successful and he's been given another case review manager, which means he goes back to the bottom of the queue again. Why weren't it sent back to the people who got it wrong? Why does he have to wait? And here's the thing, right? Why should victims of injustice, however it's defined, why should why should they actually be ashamed of these labels that are put on them? Thief, fraudster, murderer. Why are they ashamed of that, right? And they go quiet. So even Jane goes, well, what do the others think if they find out that Sean's an appellant, right? Or an applicant at the CCRC? And that's why we get divided and that's why we get beaten. If I'm innocent, I don't care what label you put on me. It don't matter to me, right? And what we've seen throughout history is that when people have been ashamed of being black or brown, racists win. If women are ashamed of being women, misogynists win. If innocent people are ashamed of the labels that they have about being called thieves or murderers or fraudsters, injustice wins. We should never be ashamed of it. No. They should be ashamed of putting them labels on innocent people.
Yeah. And I was more concerned about the trolls attacking us. That's what I was bothered about as well.
We like that, Jane. We love troll attacks.
Yeah, we've had a few, and I didn't want that to happen. That's all. I'm upset.
That's to get the stuff in the papers is to get the trolls in. Come on, trolls, we're up for it. No problem. Okay, everybody, look, thank you so much. We've got to end it at some point.
Can I just say one little thing before we go, Sean?
Go on.
Can I just say one little thing that the Seema and Janet and Davinder and Lee have supported me a lot over the recent years with the seen stuff on Twitter. They've shared information about Robin, and I'm so grateful that they are. And then Seema and Davinder came in to see Robin very recently. They wanted to see they were at this part of the world, and I'm just so grateful that they did openly want to support Robin's claim of innocence, and hopefully urge the CCRC to listen to these great people who know what they're talking about. That's what I wanted to say, that, and I'm so grateful to you all. Thank you.
And Jane, one more thing in terms of the question asked by Sean, why you think Robin is innocent? After visiting us, when we visited Robin in a prison, we went to Manchester University. We've spoken a couple of solicitors there. They have a serious concern. They have a faith that Robin is innocent. They have those feelings. In the same time, I can't give the names, but met some barristers as well. And one of the best I talked regarding the Robin. And they said, oh yeah, I know Robin. I know there is something is fishy going on there. People, in the system, they have sympathy with Robin. Trust me.
Yeah.
And we'll do our best in the same time if we can, put some more pressure with those people as well, those who have some kind of trust that Robin is innocent.
Yeah.
That's very helpful.
Thank you.
Thank you. Almost everyone you can see on this screen here has been through the fire over the last few years, surviving, as Dr. Michael says, with resilience and honesty and integrity. And their wonderful representative Jane here, who brought all this together. We all love Jane. She's an amazing person. And everyone's got their story. Robin Garbutt has been in prison for 12 to 15 years, 14, something like that. We say hello to him as a human being, and we look forward to the CCRC doing the right thing. We'll see, won't we? So thanks, everyone. Guy, and
Thank you.
bye.
Never give in.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Thank you so much. Bye.
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 Bye, everyone. Thank you.
Bye.